Travis the Chimp was raised like a human child. He could use keys to open doors, clothe himself, and would play with the neighbors. He would sit at the table for family meals and occasionally sip on wine in a stemmed glass. He was able to use a computer, watch the TV using the remote control, and he was even taught how to drive and had been known to get behind the wheel of a car. It all sounds rather Disney movie-esque, doesn't it? Well, it's important to remember that Travis was not a child, nor was Travis a human. Travis was indeed a wild animal. And as the saying goes, you can take the animal out the wild, but you cannot take the wild out the animal. And this is a lesson that would be learned in the most devastating of ways. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Horror House, an unconventional episode of Horror House, may I add. But still, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it, as always. Amy, how are you doing today, my love?
I'm okay. I'm a bit confused.
I did say it.
Yeah, I know. I had warning. I did have warning that it was going to be a slightly different episode and it was going to be a bit different to usual. But yeah, I mean, I think you saw my face like in the first 3 words. As soon as you said Travis the Chimp, I was like, what the fuck are we doing? What's going on? But yeah, I mean, cool, right? You know, we're talking about chimps today.
We're talking about chimps because we are now like a National Geographic podcast. It changed very suddenly.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll get my tits out.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that would drive up the views and the subscribers, to be fair.
Yeah, we'd get deleted off YouTube though, so we can't do.
Um,
But although it is in the name of education,
it is in the name. Well,
yeah,
like people would have seen like much more explicit stuff on like National Geographic. Like,
yeah.
So why not? YouTube.
Why
Stop
not?
being such prudes.
Yeah, just let me get my tits out for
Free
peace.
the titties.
Anyway, but yes, I'm very good, thank you. You didn't ask, but I am good.
I did actually. I said, Amy, how are you doing today, my lovely?
Oh, sorry, I forgot. That was 30 seconds ago, and I'm living in the future. I'm good, thank you. Thank you for stepping in at the last minute to pick a case to cover because I've been a horrendously busy worm. That's not a phrase.
It's busy bee, but if you want to use
busy
worm.
bee, that's the one. I knew there was a phrase. I knew it was a bug. There was some sort of bug that is busy all the time, and that's exactly what I've been this week. So thank you for stepping in and doing a case for me this week. I will promise to be much better prepared next week and have my own case and be a big girl and do big girl things.
That is all good. Like you said, you've been a busy worm. I
have been a busy worm.
When I say I've been a busy, or like when I would say I've been a busy bee, from now on I'm just gonna like put in random animals. Like I've been a busy salamander this week. Sorry.
Yeah, you don't have to conform. Like that implies all bees are busy.
I've been a busy tuna.
I identify as whatever animal I want. I've been a busy little slug.
I thought about to say
this week.
I thought about to say I've been a busy little slut then, and I was like, okay, we're not doing animals anymore.
I am the busiest little slut, let me tell you.
But I'm glad you're okay, even though you've been busy. I have just about forgiven you for abandoning me on Monday and not coming to Thorpe Park with me. It's fine.
Well, you've repaid the favour today because I couldn't come to Thorpe Park for work reasons, and you now can't come with me for the love of horror. So call it even.
Fair enough. We shall definitely rearrange. And I still managed to have a rather good day. It'd been a long time since I've been to Thorpe Park, and of course they've got their big new roller coaster, which is pretty incredible. Velocicoaster in Orlando is the best ride I've ever been on. Hyperia came very, very close to topping it. Surprisingly close, actually.
High praise
Like
indeed.
it was incredible. It's short. It could do with maybe another element on it, maybe another 2, but, like, what it packs in to a very, very, sort of very, very compact layout is pretty staggering. So my
Nice.
thrill seeker heart was very, very satisfied that day. Very
Good.
satisfied.
Glad to hear it.
Um, so Amy, do you have any true crime news for us today that you would like to share?
I do indeed. And the headline to this isn't particularly, I was going to say not particularly interesting. It is interesting, but in comparison to what we normally do on true crime news, it's very normal.
Mhm.
Um, so bear with me. It was more like the details of this that I thought I need to bring this to the podcast because I've not heard about this, and that's odd considering the nature of it. Um, so the headline is
Okay.
Woman 22 found dead in flat after she wasn't seen for 6 days. So yeah, okay, 22, very young, very sad that she's dead. Um, but not, massively crazy for what we generally talk about. The reason that I'm bringing it to the podcast is because apparently there's just a spate of female murders in Northern Ireland that we're just not talking about. Um, so I'll read a bit more of this for you. It says,
Interesting.
a woman was murdered weeks after telling police she had, quote, been the victim of violent crime. Mary Ward, 22, was found dead at an address on Melrose Street, Belfast on Tuesday, the 1st of October. She is the 4th woman to be murdered in Northern Ireland in 6 weeks. Now, if you're from London or
Okay.
you're from somewhere that's densely populated, that doesn't sound like that much. But in the last, hang on, there's a fact here somewhere. I can't remember how many years it is. So in the last 4 years, 24 women have been murdered in Northern Ireland, and 4 of those have been in the last 6 weeks.
Wow.
So just, put that in context. That's the sort of like amount.
Yeah.
The ratio has shot up
Yeah.
in the last few weeks, which is obviously quite concerning.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, Detective Chief Superintendent Lindsay Fisher said this is just absolutely appalling. 4 families have been shattered forever by meaningless violence. The other women that have been affected, been killed, were Rachel Simpson, a 43-year-old mother of 3 who was found dead in a garage on Castlereagh, I think that's how you say that road, in Belfast on September the 13th. She was described as a, quote, fearless warrior with a heart of gold at a funeral which was attended by hundreds, many dressed in leopard print, her favourite style. Another person is Montserrat Martorell, 65, who was found with multiple injuries in the bedroom of a burning ground floor flat on Harvey Street in Derry on August the 24th. And finally, Sophie Watson, 57, was found dead with multiple stab wounds at a house in Ashgrove Park on the 18th of August. So yeah, four women in the space of 6 weeks have been murdered in Northern Ireland, given the very low percentage of women being murdered over the last 4 years. And all very different women, but very similarly violent attacks. So I thought it was something I'd bring up because it's a bit concerning, that, isn't it?
Yeah. So is there like a serial killer in Northern Ireland?
Well, we don't know. The fact that they're all very violent killings suggests that perhaps they're all linked. But I would argue, and there's police are certainly suggesting that they're all linked. But personally, I don't know, because when you look at the ages and the life situations of these 4 women, so you've got 22, 43, 57 and
Yeah.
65, they're really not very close.
No. No.
One was living alone, one had 3 kids, one was married, one was an older lady. There's no real
Pattern.
there's no victim traits that are shared between these women other than the fact that they are women. So I don't know, but potentially there is a serial killer on the loose in Northern Ireland.
We've got the Northern Irish Jack the Ripper prowling about.
Potentially, yes.
Maybe.
Also, I started reading an article because that was another thing that I looked at for True Crime News this week. I started reading an article that claimed that Jack the Ripper has finally been identified due to new DNA evidence, but I didn't get to the end of the article, quite frankly, because it seemed like a load of toss. So I didn't bother. I don't want to give our listeners a load of rubbish, so I didn't bother. I don't think Jack the Ripper's been identified. I think it was just clickbait. So there you go. If you know better,
Fair
let us know.
enough. Fair enough. I did.
But that's my true crime news for this week.
Thank you. I did see that article as well, and that's what I was going to talk about had you not found something.
I've got a knack of doing that, haven't I?
So
sorry.
But to be fair, I probably got as far as you did before I started to get quite suspect.
Yeah, I don't think it's real.
This doesn't seem genuine, does it?
And to be honest, I feel like if it was genuine, it would have been way bigger.
Yeah.
Like we would have heard about it in more news outlets. The only news outlet that is currently running the story is Lad Bible, which I don't love. Your Lad Bible, you're great, but not the most reliable journalistic source. So I don't know. I don't know how true it is, but worth a mention.
It's because I did go on like BBC to see if they had an article about it, and they've got nothing about it. So yeah, I don't know. It just seems a bit suspect. So, have you heard about the tale of Travis the Chimp, Amy?
Your intro didn't give me enough info to know if I'm thinking of the same chimp.
Okay.
I know a story about a chimp
that
I think is worthy of an episode. And I'd be very shocked if it was a different chimp. But it might not be the same chimp.
Well, this might be the chimp. This is the only this is the only chimp story that's quite infamous that I know of.
Okay.
So I reckon we're probably thinking of the same story, but we'll find out. We'll find out as we go through.
I'm intrigued. I'm Curious George.
I'm Curious George. Oh, what a film.
Get it?
Because
he's a monkey.
Film.
I thought it'd be, I was trying to make a connection.
No, I'm thinking of George of the Jungle, not Curious George. Curious George was never a film.
Yeah, George of the Jungle is a man. Curious George is a monkey. He wears a little yellow coat and gets curious about things.
I got my Georges mixed up.
I tell you what, though, George of the Jungle, Brendan Fraser, that was a awakening for me as a young woman.
I mean, I'm sure there are many Brendan Fraser films that
any
like
literally
The Mummy,
maybe not The Whale,
George of the Jungle, like
yeah.
I mean, isn't The Mummy like
Airheads?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Woo!
Isn't like The Mummy just like a bisexual's wet dream?
I've made this joke many times on my Instagram. The Mummy was my bisexual awakening because there is no one in that movie I wouldn't fuck. Other than the kid. Come on, get your head out the gutter. Yeah, no, that was very it's the whole moment. I still get flustered thinking about it.
There are some beautiful, beautiful people in that film.
Every now and again when I'm like, do you know what? I'm mildly horny, but I don't want to masturbate. I don't want to watch porn. I just stick on The Mummy and it's that perfect level,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's got action. It's got beautiful people. What more could you want? What more could you want?
Basically, when I want to be sexually excited, but I'm feeling too lazy to do anything about it. The Mummy. Boom.
That's what does it.
Perfect.
So, are you ready to talk about Travis and his tail? Not his actual tail.
I was going to say, chimps don't have tails,
because chimps don't have tails. But the story. Do they have tails?
I don't know. Did they have that little thing? Like that little tuft?
They might have that little tuft, actually.
I don't know. Nonetheless, that's not the tail you meant.
No.
So, yes, I'm ready to hear all about Travis and his tail with an L-E.
Okay. So, Travis the Chimp was born at what's now called the Missouri Chimpanzee Sanctuary in Festus, Missouri, on October the 21st, 1995.
I love how we're starting the story like a serial killer story. We're starting it like any other case
Well,
file.
I don't know
Sorry.
how else to start. Like, chimp.
To be fair, it is a very generic way to start all of our stories. Maybe we should start branching out. We're always like, this person was born. Yeah, we know that. Obviously, they were born.
Travis the Chimp came into the world.
Sprung into
existence.
Yeah, it's a good place to start. The beginning.
Travis the Chimp was birthed into the universe.
Yep, nice.
Also, Festus, Missouri is a phenomenal town name. Festus, Missouri.
Uncle Festus.
So yeah, Travis was born unto us on October the 21st, 1995.
Chimp Jesus.
Chimp Jesus.
I'm sorry. As soon as you said chimp, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to take this seriously. I will focus. I'll focus. I will focus. This is serious. Come on. We got this. So yeah, Travis Chimp has been provided. We followed the star. And at the end, in a zoo in Festus, Missouri, we have found little baby Chimp Jesus. Please let us know
Oh
about
my
his
God.
life.
Chimp Jesus is phenomenal. Babe, wake up. Chimp Jesus has dropped another sermon.
It's time.
We need to go to church to see Chimp Jesus. It's very important.
He spelled out the commandments in banana peel. We have to go now.
So Travis's parents, Susie and Coco, which are quite nice names actually.
Sounds like two ladies. It's very
for
progressive.
a chimp, maybe.
Little Chimp Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus, famously not a fan of that. But, it's fine. Chimp Jesus, anything goes.
This is Chimp Jesus. This is entirely different. Chimp Jesus is like, I am a progressive lord and savior.
Stick it on a t-shirt, everyone. Chimp Jesus loves lesbians.
So yeah, Susie and Coco were brought to the United States from Africa sometime in the 1970s. When Travis was 3 days old, he would be adopted or purchased. I don't know what phrase you would use. By Sandra and Jerome Harold for $50,000.
Whoa!
50 G's. It's a lot.
That is a chunk
That's
of change.
a lot of money. Right.
Turns out you can put a price on a Chimp
God
Jesus.
damn.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot. Tiger King has drastically misled me about the price of animals.
Well, there you go.
He told me you could get a tiger for $5,000, and in my opinion, that's worth way more than a chimp.
There you go. $50,000. Maybe it was because this is Chimp Jesus and it just bumped the price up a little.
Oh yeah. Regular chimps.
Regular chimps would. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is chimp.
This chimp is the Messiah, so you're gonna have to pay a premium. Sorry.
This chimp rose from the dead. Like, I want 50 G's. Nothing
He's
less.
out here turning water into banana milkshake. You can't just expect a discount.
So raising Travis at their house in Rockrimmon Road in North Stamford, or in the North Stamford neighborhood of Stamford, Connecticut, even. Sandra and Jerome would name him after Travis Tritt, Sandra's favorite singer. That's very, very dangerously close to Travis Titt, which I almost said.
I wouldn't have judged.
I was expecting me to say tit, but I'm quite surprised I didn't. Becoming somewhat of a local celebrity, Travis was the couple's constant companion. He would go everywhere with Sandra and Harold, often accompanying them to work at the towing company they owned. At the shop, Travis would wear a baseball shirt and pose for pictures in the tow truck. That mental image it tickles me greatly, to be honest.
Cute.
He's just in his New York Yankees jersey, posing for pictures in the tow truck, like the celebrity he is.
As you do.
He gained popularity in the community and was said to welcome police officers when they came across each other while towing vehicles. Travis, having grown up with humans, focused on following the instructions that the heralds handed him. The heralds would once hear from their neighbor, quote, "He listened better than my nephews." Just throwing his nephews under the bus. It's like, my nephew's a little
Yeah.
fucking shits. But this chimp is all right. He listens good.
Yeah. That is one of my main issues with kids is that they just don't listen. So, yeah, makes sense. Although I don't think chimps are far enough away from children for me to be on board.
No. Aren't they like chimps are like the closest sort of
They're the
things
closest
to
to
humans,
humans,
aren't
aren't
they?
they? Like in terms of I don't know, there's 2 ways to answer this question, and I always pick the wrong one whenever anyone asks me. So, if you ask a normal person what's the closest animal to a human, they would say a chimp, because, like, DNA-wise,
Yeah.
that's the closest. If you ask me, I always say a pig because pork tastes the closest to human flesh. Not because I know, just because that's what I'm told. So, I answer from a cannibal perspective,
Which is the
which
only
is
way
wrong.
to look at
I've been
this
told it's
question.
wrong. So yeah, in fact, what they actually said was, "Amy, stop doing that. You're freaking me out." So that's fine. So yeah, chimps I think are the closest, or maybe orangutans. Maybe
Maybe,
I might have read that somewhere. It's one of the two.
maybe. I know
Yeah,
there is like a species of monkey that is said to be, the closest to us with regards
yeah,
to
like a few
DNA and stuff
chromosomes
like that.
away, sort of thing. Yeah.
Um, so at the top of the episode, or as I said at the top of the episode, Travis in many ways was like the couple's child, or more accurately, their second child, with the couple already having one child, a human child, obviously, Susan. He would use a computer. He would clothe himself. He would clean. He would eat with the family, and he knew when the neighborhood ice cream van was coming by,
Oh,
which is kind of cute. Like, I can just picture him like
yeah,
running out the house, be like, "I want my flake. Stop, ice cream
yeah.
man."
The more you go through this, the more I'm hoping it's not the story that I think it is, because I'm like, Travis is adorable. And then in the back of my mind, there's that little voice that said, "Nope."
Until he wasn't.
Until he wasn't.
Hard cut, black and white, dramatic music.
Yeah. And then he just appears behind me and throttles me. No. Um,
um, yeah, like in a way, it is kind of cute just picturing him like sitting on the
mm,
sofa, like just watching like Judge Judy and getting really into it.
yeah. He's like a little human.
Eating at the table, like some fine lobster or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, Travis and the Harolds were, it seems, a happy family, albeit an unconventional family, but a happy family nonetheless, and enjoyed many good years together. Um, However, tragedy would eventually strike this unconventional family. Um, Sandra's only child, Susan, would be killed in a car accident in September 2000. And nearly 4 years later, Jerome, Sandra's husband, would succumb to his battle with cancer. Um,
Mm.
Sandra, uh, probably perhaps unsurprisingly, would turn to Travis for comfort, regarding him to be, in a certain way, a surrogate son. And Sandra would begin to pamper the chimp. The pair ate all their meals together. Sandra would even bathe with him, and they would sleep together every single night.
Yeah. All right, Sandra. You want to chill? That's a bit much.
Hey, she just loves her chimp.
And what we're calling it these days.
Travis would begin to have um, occurrences of erratic behavior, shock and horror, because he's a wild animal, in the
Mm.
months before Jerome died. Um, in October 2003, Travis escaped from Sandra's car and held up traffic at a busy intersection, and led the police on, I think it was like a 2-hour chase. The whole
Cool.
thing The whole thing started when a pedestrian hurled an empty soda bottle at the car, hitting Travis as they were stopped at a red light.
Can you imagine if you're like a kid and you're like, do you know what? We're a bit bored. We've got nothing to do. There's no youth centres. It's a whole different issue. But, we've got nothing to do. So we're going to go and play some pranks on some people and throw some bottles at some cars. Like, you see it all the time. And not so much here because we're normal here. No offense, American. But in America, you see it quite a lot. Like, they throw like sodas at cars and all that shit.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you're doing that? You've had a successful day of throwing sodas at cars and people have been a bit ticked off and a bit angry and you feel like your tiny portion of anarchy is making you feel better about your own life. And then all of a sudden you throw one and a fucking chimp jumps out and chases you. Like, that's got to make you rethink.
Yeah,
surely.
I would legit be fucking terrified. I would shit.
I don't even know how I'd react. I think I wouldn't have a normal reaction, I don't think, because I don't fucking run. Like, I'll do whatever I can to avoid running. I think I'd probably just stand there and be like, of all the ways I thought I was going to die, this wasn't even on the list.
I've had a good life, and it's kind of going to come to an end at the hands of a chimp. Who'd have
Goodbye,
thought?
cruel world. Not how I thought I'd go, but there we are.
Yeah. Imagine, like, your aim is to get a bottle through an open window and you fail at every single one. And you're like, I'm going to do one more. I'll do one more.
Last chance.
And then we're going home. And then we'll just bin it. And you finally get it through the window and you're like, yes, I've been trying all day. And then fucking chimp comes out the car. And you're just like...
It's the one car that happens to have a chimp in it. Bollocks.
This may have been a mistake.
It's a sign from God that you shouldn't throw sodas at his only child.
Chimp Jesus did not take kindly to being lamped with a bottle.
Instant karma from Chimp Jesus.
So,
or Jesus.
Or cheese. Oh, Jesus is good.
Jesus.
So Jesus didn't take particularly kindly to being lamped by a bottle. So
fair.
He undid his seatbelt, exited the vehicle, and chased the bottle thrower, but was unable to catch up with him. When the police did arrive, they did lure Travis into the car several times, only for him to let himself out of another door, and then occasionally chase them around the car.
Oh my God, it's like fucking Benny Hill.
That's when I was...
What is happening?
When I was writing this, that's exactly what I pictured. I even had like the theme song in my head as I was picturing Travis just chasing these poor police officers.
Travis just like standing on the roof of the car like, you guys look ridiculous right now.
Oh dear. It is quite a funny thing to picture, to be honest. It was probably like pretty scary for the police officers. Travis is probably like loving life. Like, this is well.
Oh yeah, he's having a great time.
So police officers agreed that he was only being, quote, playful, and maybe in a way one could perceive it that he was being playful, maybe, but really it probably should have been taken a bit more seriously, because when primatologists informed the animal control department that Travis was now a fully sexualized adult with the power of 5 men, it's probably going to end very badly if Travis was able to get his hands on the police officers.
Yeah.
I don't think he was being playful. I think he was pretty pissed off.
I think he was being a dick.
Honest. Like, he just got lamped by a bottle. He probably wasn't in the best of moods.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not the criminal here. I've just been minding my fucking business.
But what a consensus to come to. They're like, oh, Travis is just being playful. It's like, well, no.
Yeah.
Like, if a tiger was chasing me around a car, I wouldn't be like, oh, the tiger's just being playful. Like, no, the tiger probably wants to fuck me up.
Yeah, I mean, I say this again, and I'm sorry, because I know that a lot of our listeners are from the United States, and I've got no issue with that at all. But this wouldn't happen in the UK.
No.
It just wouldn't. Like, the it would get tranquilized and probably taken to a zoo like almost immediately.
Yeah.
And obviously you're not allowed to own animals like that in the UK anyway.
No.
So it just wouldn't happen here. But it does feel like a very, when it comes to like dangerous animals and dangerous situations, I feel like Americans just handle it way better than we do.
Maybe.
Like we get the odd rabid badger, which are actually quite scary, but
They could,
not really that
yeah.
concerning. And you get like a whole entire natural whatever team, I can't remember what they're called, like conservationists or whatever, will go out and deal with this one badger for like a 6-week stint of time where you're not allowed to go in a field or whatever. But Americans just like, they see a chimp being chased by 4 police officers and go, oh, that's fun.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cute.
Yeah, it's quite bizarre. And I know there are a fair amount of states in America where it's legal to own exotic animals. And
Well,
you
yeah,
don't
Tiger King. Just
really
watch Tiger
need
King.
like much in the way of, you know, anything that will stop you from doing it. So and plus, you know, Travis, like I said it, like I said sort of a little bit earlier, Travis was a celebrity in the community, and these police
Yeah.
officers were probably the ones that would take photos with him when he was at
Yeah,
Sandra and
way to
Harold's
him.
work. Like
Yeah.
they were just, you know, they saw Travis as this kid, this playful kid. Like they didn't see him as
Mm.
a fully sexualized adult who's fucking strong. Like
Yeah.
and if he, you know, if Travis got his hands on them, like
Yeah, it's over.
that would be good night. Like Dunzo. Thanks for playing. So as a result of this incident, the state passed a law requiring owners to obtain a permit and limiting the weight of primates to 50 pounds if they were pets, um, which is quite boggling that it was this incident which made them go, maybe people need a permit to own a chimp.
Yeah. It is kind of like looking at a dam and rather than fixing the hole in it, just popping a plaster over
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
It's not really fixing the problem.
Reminds me of that that tape where it was like that advert where like someone's selling this like miracle tape that stops a leak
Yeah, and they just slap
and
it
they just
on.
slap it on the,
Yeah. Yeah, the
the
permit isn't the issue here.
yeah, exactly. Um and yeah, it's just quite insane that maybe wasn't considered. Um
Mm.
so yeah, the state, you know, passed this law. However, because Sandra and Jerome had kept Travis for such a long time, the um, DEP, which is the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection, did not enforce this law against the heralds. As I said, one, because they had owned Travis for, you know, for quite a long time, but also
Mhm.
because they did not think that Travis caused a concern to public safety, which he kind of does,
Mhm.
considering that one, there was the incident that was the reason why they put the law in the first place. And two, Travis weighs over 200 pounds and he's reached sexual maturity and he has the strength of 5 men. I think he does cause quite a big concern to public safety.
Literally
Like,
quite a big concern.
just a tad. Just a tad.
Yeah.
That's crazy. The DEP are just like, Travis is fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's
There are so many
talking.
dangerous animals out there. We must do something to put a stop to the amount of dangerous animals on our streets. Oh no, not Travis.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
Travis is cool. Don't
exactly.
worry about him.
Travis is
Not
fine.
him.
Travis
Everyone
is
else,
chill.
just not him. Yeah. He lets us take pictures.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
He's Chimp Jesus. Permits cannot contain him. How dare you?
he eats at the table like he's just a child. He's just a baby.
Yesterday he came round and gave us loaves and fishes. He's a great kid.
Yeah, pretty baffling. pretty baffling. That's kind of like, if a tiger mauled someone and then, you know, a pack of tigers was then like walking the streets and people and the government were just like, it's fine. You can still go out on the street. The tigers aren't a public concern to safety. That you're fine. Like, don't worry. It's all good.
Hello, I'm a member of the public. Are you concerned? Not really. Done.
You're just calling up the local authority and while your leg is clamped in like a tiger's mouth. And you're just like, so I think the tigers are a concern for public safety because
I have now
they're
become
currently
concerned.
eating me. This has gone horribly wrong. I just want you to know. So yeah, quite a baffling choice on that one. The incident in 2003, as people may have correctly taken it, was not a moment of Travis being playful. What it really was a warning sign, and it should have been taken as just that, a warning sign. A sign that Travis did indeed pose a concern to someone's safety, especially because I thought I put this in my notes, but I didn't. But there was another incident where he tried to drag someone into a car. So, like, he's had he's had a few events where really someone should have been like, okay, this is going to go one way and it's not going to be good. Maybe we should step in and
he's a person of it. Well, he's not a person of interest. He's a chimp of interest.
Chimp of interest. So Travis did pose a concern to someone's safety and to just public safety in general because of his size, because of just the fact that he's a wild animal.
He's enough. A fucking chimp.
He's a goddamn chimp. And in 2009, another incident would occur. However, this one would be far more serious and would have devastating consequences for all of those involved. But before we get to that particular incident, Amy, how do you feel about taking a wee little break? How does that sound?
I could do with a break. I'm very upset and appalled by Travis's behaviour.
Travis, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
I'm just disappointed, buddy. You showed such promise.
This is not very holy of you, Travis.
Yeah.
Not holy at all.
What would your dad, our Lord and Saviour, Harambe, say?
Harambe's looking down with a scowl on his face, thinking, what has my son become? Cool. We shall see you in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to the second part of today's episode. It's, as I said at the top of the episode, and as I said to Amy before we came on, it's a bit of a different episode. This one, Amy, what do you think of Travis at the moment? It's been a bit funny in places to think.
He's been a bit of a tinker, though, isn't he? He's a bit of a scamp, a bit of a scallywag. So I don't know. The thing is, this, you always do this to me, right? We talk about a person or a chimp, whatever. This is the first time it's been a chimp, granted, but we do always talk about people. And halfway through, you're like, Amy, what do you think of them? And I'm like, do you know what? I like him. They sound really cool. They sound really fun. They sound like someone I'd want to hang out with. And then we get into the second part and you tell me what they did. And I'm like, oh, now I sound weird.
This guy
now I seem like I want to hang out with, killers and horrible people. And I don't really. So I'm not going to say that I like him because I think I'll probably be proved wrong very shortly. But he seems like he's just a chimp being a chimp. He's living his best chimp life.
He's living his best
given
chimp.
The chimp situation that he finds his chimp self in. I've said chimp too much. It's starting to sound weird.
Okay. Cool. So let's go into part 2 um,
Okay.
then. And obviously in part 1, we had a bit of a giggle thinking about Travis watching his favorite TV shows and drinking the finest
Mhm.
Merlot and, taking little jaunts around the neighborhood when he wanted to take a little
Yeah.
drive. Um, However, what
Okay.
happens in part 2 is going to be far less comical, um, and is quite a stark reminder that wild animals are not and should never be household pets. After all,
Mm.
what's wrong with a dog or a cat or a lizard or anything like that? Anything that's not a wild animal, to be honest.
Pet rock.
Pet rock. Get a pet rock. Like, just be happy
Pet
with your pet
houseplants.
rock. Houseplants.
Anything.
Like,
Not a chimp.
not a chimp.
Simple.
Um, so just a bit of a heads up, we're gonna get a bit gruesome in part 2. Um, it's gonna be it's gonna be a wee bit graphic. In definitely in comparison to part 1. Part 1 was not graphic in any way. Part 2
Travis, no.
is gonna be particularly brutal. Um, so on February the 16th, 2009, Travis would seem agitated after a lunch of fish and chips and ice cream cake, which is a sentence
Why?
that I never thought I would utter on this show, to be perfectly honest.
That's great lunch. No need to be
Um,
agitated.
that I don't know, maybe the fish wasn't the right fish. Maybe the ice cream cake
Yeah.
was just a bit shit. I don't know. Maybe he's just very hard to please. He was like, "What is this shit? Fish and chips and ice cream cake? What the fuck?
Gone full Gordon Ramsay. Fucking raw.
Where's my lobster, woman?"
Yeah.
Um, after um, so this whole like bullet point is quite loaded, to be honest. Um,
Okay.
After adding Xanax to his tea, Travis would become increasingly unpredictable and manage to escape the house. Sandra would call her friend Charla Nash and ask her to come over to assist in calming the quite agitated and increasingly unpredictable Travis down and get him back into the house. Um, However, upon Charla's arrival, Travis would launch a full-fledged assault on the woman, pushing her into the side of a car. Um, Sandra rushed out and began hitting Travis over the head with a shovel, but he persisted his attack on Charla. Sandra would quite literally stab Travis in the back with a butcher knife. Um, she later recalled, quote, "For me to do something like that, put a knife in him was like putting one in myself." Um, she would state that Travis turned around and looked at her as if to say, quote, "Mum, what did you do?" Um, Sandra, at this point, believing her friend to be very much deceased, ran to her car and called 911. There is a recording of the 911 call. Don't listen to it because you can quite clearly hear Travis just mauling Charla Nash. It's not great. Don't listen to it. I implore you not to.
I have
Go
I
on.
have so many questions.
Go on.
Number 1. Why is he giving himself Xanax?
Sorry, Sandra put Xanax in his tea. I forgot that I didn't actually
Oh,
specify.
okay. Right.
So Sandra gave him the
Nonetheless,
Xanax.
that's a bit weird. Number 2, Charla Nash, R.I.P. doll. I'm sorry, you should never have been involved in this. But who gets a call that goes along the lines of, "Yeah, you're right, mate. You know that 200-pound chimp that lives with me? He's a bit ticked off. Do you mind popping over and just helping me?" Who in their right mind goes, "Yeah, all right, sounds fun."
Yeah.
Like that to me is, well, that's going to be a no. I'm ridiculously busy
Okay.
doing anything but that.
I need to walk my cat. Sorry, Sandra.
No, thank you. I choose life. It's just not. Why? She shouldn't have been there. And Sandra, what a fucking dick for calling a mate. If that chimp, you know there's an issue. You clearly know there's an issue because you, as its mum or whatever, have decided that you need help to calm it down. No, lock it in the fucking house and leave.
That's probably good advice, to be fair.
Lock it in the house, leave, then call 911 and get them to deal with it. Get professionals to tranquilize it. You don't call your mate to try and help you. Don't bring another human that you supposedly like into this dangerous situation. That's stupid. Am I being mental? I feel like I'm being mental, but this is true, right?
So
this is such a horrible thing to have done.
In answer to your second question, which was why Sandra called Charla, or why Charla said that she would come over.
Yeah.
So I think I've put it in the notes somewhere further down.
Okay.
So I'm probably I'll end up repeating it anyway. Without scrolling down to where I've put this, Charla worked in the towing office with Harold and Sandra, and she knew Travis, or Travis was familiar with Charla, so Travis sort of had a familiarity with her. So maybe that's why Charla was like, "Yeah, I'll come and help." I don't know. Maybe that's why Sandra called Charla. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, what you said about, right, like, don't even try and get Travis in the house. Just find
get yourself out of the situation.
Like,
don't bring more people into it.
And call 911 and have police, come over.
Animal control.
Just deal with police, paramedics, the National Guard.
Anyone.
The fucking Navy SEALs, like, just have everyone come.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, although the Son is already there.
So before helping Charla Nash, emergency responders that arrived at the scene did await the arrival of the police. After the police arrived, Travis went in the direction of the squad car, broke a side view mirror, and attempted to unlock a passenger door. He would go around to the driver's side door and did manage to open that, coming face to face with Officer Frank Chiafari, I think. I would evacuate my bowels extremely quickly if I came face to face with a fucking chimp that's like just lost his fucking rag.
Just mauled a woman to death.
Yeah. New York Magazine would describe the events as such. Quote, "The officer lurched. He struggled to remove his gun from its holster. His body became wedged against the center console computer. Travis stared into the car, baring his blood-soaked teeth. In one motion, the officer at last released his gun and fired 4 rounds into Travis. Travis would stagger backward, screeched, defecated, and ran off. The officer got out of
this... Sorry. I'm laughing at an inappropriate time. It's not funny. Carry on.
I mean, to be fair, I did have a giggle when I did.
I'm just a child. I heard the word defecate and it made me laugh. I'm an idiot. Let's move on.
The officer got out of his car. Huge chunks of scalp and fingers lay scattered around the yard. He walked slowly to the body. With the stump of what remained of her arm, Charla Nash reached for his leg. Obviously, she didn't die, but I'll go into this a little bit more.
Wow. Okay.
As another group of officers set out into the woods to look for him, Travis scampered unnoticed into the house. Leaving a trail of blood, he knuckle-walked through the kitchen, the bedroom, and into his room. He then grasped his bedpost, heaved forward, and died. Quite a in-depth description of that whole scene.
Yes.
Jesus. R.I.P.
Poor Jesus.
Poor Jesus. Also, as I said, if I was Officer Chiafari, I'd be utterly fucking terrified when Travis bared his teeth face to face with me after essentially probably ripping off the driver's side fucking door. Like, I think that's when I would be
Mm,
like, you know what? I'm going to go and work in retail because I don't know
yeah.
if this is
It
something.
isn't for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to go.
After this as well, I've done my bit.
Yeah,
This is enough.
exactly.
I'm just gonna find something,
Exactly.
nice and relaxing, 9 to 5. Um, yeah, it's a terrifying scene, obviously, and, like, it has been brought about by Travis, but it's not something that you can look at as an individual situation. You have to take into account how he's been raised and what he is in his nature, and it's like, I mean, as bad as it sounds, organizations like PETA and, like, animal rights organizations would look at this and on the first instance go, "Oh my God, this is horrific." But on the second instance, probably go, "Holy shit, we have just been given an entire arsenal of ammo
Yeah,
to use against these people that think it's okay to keep wild animals as pets." Because all you have to is like all the argument you ever need. They're like, "It's my God given right to own animals and to raise them. I can do this. It's my constitutional right, blah, blah, blah." All they have to do is go, "Travis."
yeah, yeah.
And there's no argument to that. Do you know what I
No,
mean? Like, you can't deny that that happened. And he had a good, well, by what, these people that do want to own wild animals standards, had a good upbringing. He was brought up the right way. He was treated the right way. And he still did it.
yeah, yeah. So quite astoundingly so. And obviously, when I first came upon this, I was like, yeah, Charla didn't survive this. And obviously, Amy was quite taken aback when I was like,
Yeah.
she survived, but I think it's not surprising to say that her injuries were devastating. Um,
Yeah.
Not only had Travis broken nearly all of her facial bones, he had also torn off her eyelids, her nose, her lips, and most of her scalp. He also rendered her blind, fully removed one of her hands and most of the other one. Um, I think I think I read she lost 90% of her face.
Holy
Um,
shit.
so obviously life changing injuries, absolutely life changing. Um, Again, like I said with the 911 call, there is audio of it and you can listen to it if you want to. We can't stop you. We can only say don't do it. Um, there are, if you dig deep enough, there are pictures of Charla post attack and the damage. Um, don't Google that either. Um, I did, and I very much wish that I never ever saw it. So
Yeah.
we've got a morbid sense of curiosity. We know that people are probably going to look at the pictures, and if you do, that's entirely your choice. But I would advise strongly against it, very, very strongly indeed.
Yeah.
Um,
Not for the faint-hearted.
yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Um, Charla would have more than 7 hours of surgery on her hands and face performed by 4 surgical teams within 72 hours of the attack. So it's a hell of a lot of surgeries to go
Yeah,
through in
not a great 3 days for Charla.
not a lot of time. The Stanford Hospital provided counseling sessions to the staff treating her because of the severities of the injuries sustained. After initial treatment at Stanford Hospital, she was transferred to the Cleveland Clinic. Travis's body was brought to the University of Connecticut for necropsy, and his head was taken to the state laboratory for a rabies test. The rabies test on his skull came back negative, but obviously Xanax was still shown to be in his bloodstream. The results of his necropsy in May 2009 verified that he had been stabbed and he was overweight. I think 250 pounds was how much he weighed. And there is a picture of
Whew.
him like sitting, and he's a big boy. He is a very,
Yeah.
very big boy, which just further like puts into just how did Charla survive that. Like, he
Yeah.
was an absolute fucking unit. Like, it's quite stunning, to be honest, that
Mm.
she didn't die from it. Um, on February the 25th, 2009, his remains were cremated at All Pets Crematory in Stamford. Um, Sandra's claim that she had given him tea laced with Xanax the day of the attack was verified by toxicology testing. Um, 15 months after the attack on May the 24th, 2010, Sandra would unexpectedly pass away at the age of 72 from a ruptured aortic aneurysm. Um, Officer Frank Chiafari, I hope I'm saying that right, I'm probably not, um, who shot Travis to death, could not initially receive counseling for his anxiety and depression. Due to this, legislation covering police officers' compensation for mental or emotional injury following the use of justified lethal force to kill an animal was proposed in 2010. However, it's not all doom and gloom. There is, in a way, a positive ending, I would say, to the story. Um,
Mhm.
in May 2011, Charla Nash would undergo successful full face transplant surgery at the Brigham and Women's Hospital. No, Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. A video of Nash in a hospital bed nodding to guests, her face smooth and features as close to normal as could be, considering, was shown on NBC's Today Show. Charla would receive a full face and double hand transplant from an identified deceased person. She would receive skin, underlying muscles, blood vessels, nerves, a hard palate, and teeth, um, which is just that being possible is quite crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Day and age that we're living in,
yeah,
it's pretty insane.
it is. Like, just the fact that you can have that happen to you, lose pretty much all of your face, have a transplant, and then you've got a face to
Yeah.
an extent. Like, that's kind of it's kind of insane.
Mm.
Um, Nash unfortunately did contract pneumonia problems, um, and that was sorry. Let me start that again. That was a disaster. So after Nash contracted pneumonia, um, problems occurred that required the hands to be removed by the doctors. So the transplanted hands had to obviously be removed.
Mhm.
However, she still hopes that a second try at a double hand transplant will be possible one day. So, why did Travis attack Charla Nash? Why? What are the reasons? Why are, what are the theories that have been put forward? Um, well, it's been said that he flew into a rage and attacked Charla upon seeing that she was holding a Tickle Me Elmo doll, which was one of his favorite toys, when she arrived to help him to help get him back into the house. Um, as I said, she had worked at Sandra and Jerome's towing company, so he was familiar with Charla Nash. However, she was driving a different car and had a different haircut when the attack happened. So that could have confused and alarmed Travis, causing him to attack. Um, as stated earlier, Travis was given Xanax laced tea the day of the attack. Given that the medicine occasionally causes mania and hallucinations in humans, it's possible that this contributed to um, the the violent outburst, I guess you could say. But whatever the reason, as stated in a Time article in the days following the attack, it wasn't a matter of if Travis would attack. It was more a matter of when Travis would attack. Um, the reality is that a chimpanzee living in close proximity to humans is kind of like a ticking time bomb. Chimpanzees are not domesticated animals and can become aggressive at any time, regardless of how long it has lived in peace as a pet. Um, so Colleen McCann, a primatologist with the Wildlife Conservation Society and New York's Bronx Zoo, would say, quote, "They are wild animals, and all wild animals are potentially dangerous. They are not pets. This is tragic, but it's not surprising." End quote. It's a PSA that shouldn't be needed, and it's something that should be quite clearly obvious. But with many US states legally allowing people to raise chimpanzees as pets, tragedies such as this could become a frighteningly regular occurrence. So, when you see a cute chimp on TV or at a zoo or a wildlife sanctuary, by all means admire it, but admire it from afar, because as the old saying goes, you can take the animal out of the wild, but you cannot take the wild out the animal. And that is our episode on Travis the Chimp. Quite a contrast, part 2 to part 1.
Yeah, bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, bit of a roller coaster. What are your thoughts on the whole situation, Ames?
Again, at the end of every episode, like, I feel like if you take out the story from every single one of our episodes, particularly our Dom episodes,
Mhm.
it's always, it's all nice, it's all nice, it's all nice. It's absolutely horrific, it's absolutely horrific, it's absolutely horrific. The end. Amy, what do you think? And I'm just so in this bombshell of, holy shit, what is life? Like, I don't even understand my own existence right now because of the absolute bombshell of horror that you've just dropped on me. And then you're like, so what did you think? And I'm like, I don't even know words right now.
I don't know where I am. I don't know who I am. I don't know
I don't know what's happening.
what's gone on.
I need a cup of tea and a sit down.
No Xanax in the tea, Ames.
No Xanax in the tea, no. I mean, yeah, it's... I don't ever understand the draw to having an animal like this as a pet. Like a chimp, a tiger, you know, obviously I'm thinking of Tiger King because obviously that was a big conversation point when that came out. Even, you know, monkeys, like capuchin monkeys, that sort of thing. I just don't fully get it because they are wild animals and they shouldn't be living among humans. And
No.
I always compare it to, obviously I have a dog.
Yep.
He's a common garden variety Labrador. I mean, obviously he's not. He's absolutely stunning.
About to say,
the best Labrador in the world.
He's off.
But
he's off camera, hearing you say
just a
common Labrador, and he's like, "What?
Common?
Common?
Yeah.
Excuse me."
I mean, he's absolutely beautiful and the king of all dogs. But he is a dog.
The finest dog food from now on.
But yeah, he's a Labrador, which is like a breed that has been kept as pets for absolutely centuries. And I think that's the difference, is that a lot of people would argue that, oh, okay, well, he's an animal too.
Yeah.
Like, he has instinct. The difference is that he is a domesticated dog. Like, they were born to parents that lived with humans. They lived with humans from the day they were born. And in Tank's case, he was raised by a human as well, because Tank's mum died giving birth to him. So he was literally bottle fed by a human. He's never known any different. But Travis's parents were wild animals, and just their like genetic makeup gives them instincts that we as humans can't remove.
Yeah.
And that is the part that makes them dangerous. And there's a lot to be said for this situation. Like, number one, if you go right back to the very start, you shouldn't be adopting a chimp to raise in your own home. You know, if you've got a wildlife sanctuary, if you've got like, you know, a facility like that, then okay, maybe to protect, you know, that animal, understandable. But to live in your house as your surrogate son, quote unquote, it's not something that you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you come to, you know, how she was treating the animal after the death of her family, which, don't get me wrong, is horrible. Like, there's a horrible thing for her to have had to go through. She's basically left on her own with this chimp. Spoiling him, feeding him whatever he wants because he's obviously overweight and gained a lot of weight very quickly. All of the stuff. There's that's its own form of abuse there. And then you get to the day of the incident and you're feeding the thing Xanax and you're calling in someone to a situation that is dangerous.
Yeah.
And that is the part that I just don't get. I think at that point, if the animal's behaving aggressively, if you're worried enough that you think I need to call someone for backup, I need help here, then you also know, even if it's just that tiny voice in the back of your mind, there's a part of you that knows that you done fucked up. Like, you don't have full control alone over this animal, and therefore you probably shouldn't have it. So there's not a situation for me that I think, okay, so do I admit that? And do I get in animal control to deal with it properly? A bit of embarrassment to myself because a lot of people say I'm wrong, and I'm going to be a bit embarrassed if I have to admit that. Or do I try and keep it under wraps? Do I try and pretend like, oh, he's just having a bad day? Do I call a friend into this scenario and put them in danger potentially as well? There's no part of my brain that goes for that second option.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm perfectly willing to admit I'm wrong if it keeps me and other people safe. Sandra obviously wasn't. And maybe she genuinely believed that she had enough of a connection with this wild animal that it wasn't going to one day do something like this. Maybe she genuinely thought that she had, I don't know, knocked the wild animal out of it. But I just don't see how that's the case. And I do wonder, it's a shame, obviously, because she passed away. She wouldn't have given, interviews, and it was so close to the incident that she wouldn't have given interviews or anything like that. And obviously she won't now, but I would have been so intrigued to hear how she felt after that happened.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, arguably there might have been a sense of relief that it wasn't her.
Yeah.
But Charla would never have been in that situation if you hadn't have called her.
Yeah.
And that, for me, if that had been me, God, that's some heavy guilt.
Yeah,
That is a heavy situation, a heavy thing to have on your shoulders.
Yeah. It's a tragic tale, isn't it, for everyone involved?
Yeah.
It's a tragic tale for Travis. It's a tragic tale for obviously Charla Nash.
Yeah.
And it's tragic for the police officer that had to shoot Travis because, he was probably one of the police officers that would
He's traumatized.
but would take photos with Travis, when he would be at, Sandra and Harold's work, and, when he would go towing, cars with Sandra and Harold, and they would see, police officers around. So in a way, Frank had to shoot and kill an animal that he probably considered somewhat of a friend. Don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's somewhat safe, I guess. Somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would have caused quite a considerable amount of trauma, and obviously it's tragic for Sandra because she had to witness her best friend's face essentially getting ripped off, and also had to witness her child in a way get killed.
Yeah.
So it's a tragedy from many, many sides, and I totally agree. I don't know why someone would want a wild animal as a pet. And I think in her grief, she spoiled Travis because Travis was the only semblance she had left of a family, because she didn't have a husband anymore. She didn't have a daughter anymore. So Travis became her son for all intents and purposes.
Mm.
And, she treated him like she would treat a human child at this point because Travis was all that she had. And maybe she was naive to the fact that this was going to happen at some point.
Mm.
It's just an unfortunate story of, naivety towards what could happen and what Travis is capable of.
Yeah.
Grief and doing something that you probably know is not wise, but
Mm.
because you've got no family left, Travis is essentially the only family now. So an
Yeah, I
unfortunate
mean, I
tale.
think that absolutely, but I think that with the whole family thing, I get it. Like, he was something that was still there and had been there when her daughter and husband were. And I get that, but I think in that situation, not that many people will be in that situation, but if you ever are,
If you ever
what you
are.
have to ask yourself, if you're thinking of a wild animal like that as a family member, then what you have to ask yourself is, okay, if I die tomorrow unexpectedly, just in the house, which Sandra did, if this whole thing with Charla hadn't have happened, Sandra died not that long ago from, it was an aneurysm, right? So, very suddenly she would have been dead in the house. Is that animal going to call the police or an
Yeah.
ambulance or someone that can help you? Or are they not going to understand what's happening? And in a few days' time, when there's no new food coming, are they going to mutilate your corpse?
Yeah.
And if the answer to that question is the second part, if they are a potential corpse mutilator, then they are not family.
Yeah.
They're an animal. And that's what you have to think about. Like, when I'm filling out forms, I don't say, oh, yeah, no, I live with someone. I don't. I have a dog. I live alone.
Mm.
And why? Because that dog's not going to help me. As much as he would love to, and he's adorable, and he wouldn't want to do anything, to hurt me.
Yeah.
He's so protective, but he would eat me if he had to.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Sandra, and that's a socially acceptable animal to have in your house, not a fucking chimp.
Yeah.
I think the tragic part of it is as well is that this has happened. This is an event this is the one I knew about, by the way, just to go back to that question previously. Yeah, it is. This is an event that a lot of people are aware of. It was very much in the public eye. And I think the only tragic part about it is, for me, is that there are still people out there that think that raising chimps in their homes is totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they did try and pass a bill to stop it, but it died in the Senate.
Which is ridiculous.
So
Just stupid.
yeah, that's just frustratingly just idiotic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's also tragic because this could have been avoided.
Yeah.
It couldn't have, or it shouldn't have got to this point, and there were opportunities to stop it from getting to this point.
Mhm.
Amy, would you like to see us out for this week?
I would love to. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I liked that it was a little bit different. It was good to do things a little bit differently sometimes. Definitely in the macabre department section of this podcast. I think the bloody stump reaching for the police officer's ankle really cemented it in that area.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode, ignore the fact that I just said bloody stump. But if you enjoyed this episode, please do feel free to let us know. You can leave us a comment and or a like or a review on any of the episodes on your podcast of choice. If you would like to support us further, why not follow us on social media? Sometimes we do things on there, and we give you a hint about what we're going to do the following week. So give us a follow. If you, I always forget what to say at this point. If you would like to support us financially, you can do so. We have a Buy Me a Coffee link. You know how it works at this point. We mention it all the time. All the time. And yet we're not swimming in money.
I know.
Whose fault is that?
Disgusting.
But we appreciate you listening as always. Thank you for joining us week after week while we sometimes chat quite a lot of shit. We appreciate that. Love you lots. And until next week, stay spooky.
Stay spooky, everybody. I got some love hearts. That's sweet.
Oh, I got a double.
And a thumbs up.
Woohoo! Man.
If you could have a wild animal, hypothetically, what would it be?
Ooh.
If you could have any animal as a pet in an ideal world, what would you go with?
Kirk's Dick.
A what?
Kirk's Dick.
What is that?
It's like a tiny little deer.
Oh,
they're really cute.
That's
Google it.
Adorable.
Yeah, they're super cute. And plus it's a dick, which is just funny.
See, I thought you were just joking.
No.
I didn't know that was the actual thing.
No, it's real. I kind of thought that you might think I was just talking about dick. But for once, I'm not.
I mean, fair enough. I'll have to Google them.
They're cute.
So
once you Google, you'll want dick too.
Okay.